I'm Teacher Kelly. We are going to talk about the newest confirmation to the Supreme Court, Ketanji Brown Jackson. Now, I know some people agree or disagree with her politics. Try to put that out of this. The point of this lesson is to learn all about how a Supreme Court nominee is chosen and confirmed. Overview of the Supreme Court. Next, you will view a slideshow about the Supreme Court. As you read, take notes of the answers to the previous fact versus fiction activity. See which statements you sorted into the correct column and if any facts surprise you. Supreme Court Justices. There are 9 Supreme Court Justices, 1 Chief Justice and 8 Associate Justices. The current Chief Justice is John Roberts. The Supreme Court Justices serve for life. Their seat is vacated only upon their death, retirement, or impeachment due to misconduct. Filling a seat. When seats need to be filled in the Supreme Court, the President nominates a candidate. This candidate must be approved by the Senate in order to serve on the Supreme Court. A president often nominates a judge with a history of case rulings that coincide with the value of the president's political party. On the bench. Once confirmed, a justice will typically rule on cases as expected by the nominating president. Therefore, a president's nomination carries significant weight. While there are 9 justices on the Supreme Court bench, this number is not set by the U.S. Constitution. Congress chooses the number of justices. There have been 9 justices since 1869. Did you know only 1 justice has been impeached? Samuel Chase in 1805. He was acquitted. Acquitted means not guilty. A justice does not need to be born in the United States. The U.S. has had 6 foreign-born justices. The first Black man to serve on the Supreme Court was Thurgood Marshall from 1967 to 1991. A Black woman has never served on the Supreme Court. The first woman to serve was Sandra Day O'Connor from 1981 to 2006. The first Hispanic woman to serve was Sonia Sotomayor from 2009 to present. So this line right here, a Black woman has never served on the court. Well, until now. As you know, the president selects new justices. However, the nominee must be approved. On the next slide, you'll watch a video about the Supreme Court confirmation process. As you watch, think about each of the steps involved in confirming a new justice. So you can watch this in your self-paced lesson. Ketanji Brown Jackson's nomination. 83-year-old Justice Stephen Breyer has served as a justice since 1994. He is set to retire in 2022. President Joe Biden has nominated Ketanji Brown Jackson, a federal judge on the United States Court of Appeals, to replace Justice Breyer. On the following slide, you'll read an article about Judge Jackson. As you read, think about why her nomination is historic. I'm going to read bits and parts, but you can read the full article in your self-paced lesson. Early years in education. She was born in Washington, D.C. in 1970 and grew up in Miami, Florida. Her father worked as a teacher and then a school board attorney, and her mother was a school principal. Ketanji Brown Jackson said that she first started thinking about a career in law as a child when her father went back to law school. I thought this was really interesting, her legal career. After graduating from law school, Jackson served as a clerk for Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer. That's whose seat she's replacing. Justice Breyer was an incredible boss and mentor, she says. Confirming Judge Jackson. On the next slide, you'll watch a video about Judge Jackson's confirmation hearings. As you watch, pay attention to the role of the Senate Judiciary Committee and questions the members may ask Judge Jackson throughout the hearings. And there's a picture of the Senate Judiciary Committee hearing in Washington, D.C. from January 16, 2018. So again, the Senate is the one that confirms. The House has nothing to do with confirmations of Supreme Court justices, and they have to go through hearings to discuss and decide if they're going to confirm the judge. The confirmation hearings. Now you'll watch a video to learn more about past confirmation hearings as well as current hearings for Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. As you watch, pay attention to the task of the Senate Judiciary Committee and the role of political affiliations in the confirmation hearings. So here's a picture of her before the Senate Judiciary Committee, and you can watch the video in your self-paced lesson. American support for Judge Jackson. Despite the current divisive political climate in America, Jackson has widespread American support. Gallup is an independent polling company that researches public opinion, particularly about political topics. Gallup polls reveal that Jackson's nomination is one of the most popular in recent history. On the next slide, you'll read an article. As you read, think about why a majority of Americans are generally supportive of Judge Jackson. Groundbreaking Supreme Court appointments. If Judge Jackson is confirmed, she will not be the first groundbreaking Supreme Court appointment. Next, you'll read a slideshow. As you read, consider the impact each of the appointments have had on America. Thurgood Marshall. In 1967, Thurgood Marshall was the first Black American appointed to the Supreme Court. Justice Marshall's appointment came on the tail end of the civil rights movement in the United States, in which Black Americans fought to obtain equal rights. Sandra Day O'Connor. In 1981, Sandra Day O'Connor became the first female Supreme Court justice. In 1970, only 3% of the law profession in the U.S. was made up of women. In the decade after Justice O'Connor was appointed, that number rose to 20%. In 2020, 37% of American lawyers were women. Sonia Sotomayor. In 2009, Sonia Sotomayor became the first Hispanic woman to serve on the Supreme Court. When Justice Sotomayor was appointed, only 1% of American lawyers were Hispanic. Now that number has risen to 5%. Thanks for watching and learning all about how a Supreme Court judge is nominated and confirmed. See you next time.